So let's get started today. The reason that I've put this this workout on is that when we build and create and take on Zoho CRM for certain clients, the data comes in all sorts of different levels of accuracy, and address data is always one of the biggest problems. Because it usually contains multiple fields, so you're talking about street address and cities and counties and provinces and states and billing and shipping. There's all sorts of complexity around it. So that's why we've put this specific workout on, just to show you an overview of the address fields in Zoho. So I'm going to talk you through the standard ones that are available to you when you actually build and start with CRM. And then I'm going to show you some of the customization elements and talk about the impact of customization in Zoho for the address fields. And then I'm going to show you some really simple ways to correct and edit your address data. So in that poll there, we're sort of in the middle range in terms of data accuracy and confidence around the address data. And I'm going to show you a really simple way to update that with Zoho Sheet View, and also talk about ways of updating that data if you have greater volume. And then once you've cleansed that data, I'm going to show you a tool which we've developed here to ensure accurate address data. Now, Duncan may have touched on this in previous 1-hour workouts, but I'm going to show you that today, and you can see if that could help you out with your data accuracy. And then I'm going to look at some outcomes. So, where we use address data in Zoho, so specifically in CRM for our mail merges. So that will be for things like mail shots or letters or references or any documents that are created with an address on it. I'm then going to demonstrate the capability on the mobile app, which tends to be for field service agents who are using the mobile app whilst on the go, specifically as we're getting out and about more now. So the mobile app has some really cool features in terms of using the address data to geolocate, and then also some work in analytics, which you may have seen before on our analytics demonstrations, where you're able to create reports and geographical based reports based on the address data that you collect. So hopefully that's a pretty packed agenda for our 1-hour workout today. As always, feel free to use the interactive Q&A. These workouts are delivered live, and the intention is that you can come in and we can have some interactivity as we go. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a quick overview on where we're at today. So I'm going to dive straight in and just talk about the standard address fields in Zoho CRM first of all. So let's go over to our home page. And address fields sit primarily in 3 modules. They sit in the leads module, in the contacts module, and in the accounts module. Now, let me just talk about that specifically when it comes to CRM design. So with the leads module, obviously our marketing module, we collect all of our incoming leads in there from websites or from social media, or non-digital channels, such as things like one of my clients does things like competition entries, which are filled in manually. So those leads are coming in all the time, and as such, you may collect addresses at that point. So the leads module has addresses in there ready to collect them at that early stage. And of course, when you convert them over to a contact or an account, then that address data can be passed over. Now, let me talk about contacts in terms of addresses. I generally only build these into CRM design where the specific purpose is for a business to consumer type business. So if you're going to be mailing contacts as individuals, then I feel that it's essential to collect address data at the contact level. If you're not going to be mailing contacts as individuals, so they belong to a business, so it's business to business that we're talking about, then the address data is generally stored at the account level. So that's an important distinction. Business to consumer, store the address at the contact level, and business to business, store the address at the account level. And that will allow you to separate your data and keep it really neat and keep things functional. So hopefully that helps in terms of design. And also with the accounts, it's important to note that if you've got a multi-site account, so if you've got a business that you work with that's got a HQ and then several branches, then you can also put the address in for those branches, but link them together with parent account. So we've touched on that in the past, and if you have any questions or more detail about that, then that's something that we can cover off with you. But it's all very easy to manage the addresses if they're in the right place. So just to summarize, business to consumer within your contact records, business to business within your account records, and leads you can collect an address if you want an address at that early stage. Okay, so let's have a look specifically at what we have in a lead record. So when we go to create a lead out of the box, then as standard in Zoho CRM, you're given these 5 fields: street, city, province, postal code, and country. Now these are pretty standard, and really when customizing Zoho for new businesses, I would maintain street, city, postal code, and country for UK type businesses. But normally province isn't really a recognized term in the UK, and as such we change that to a custom field called county. And likewise, you may have instances where street isn't enough to capture the headline data for the street itself, so we usually put in a street 2, which would give you the capability to capture 2 street lines, then a city, then a county, then a postal code, and then a country. So these are the standard fields that come with leads, and I'm going to show you a little bit of customization in a second. Let's now talk about the contact record. So when I go to create a contact, again, I've just kept the standard ones in here. So standard in contacts are called, they're referred to as mailing and also other. So first of all, we have the mailing, street, city, province, postal code, and country. So you'll see that they're pretty much mapped to the lead record. So lead street maps to mailing street and so on. But again, we've got this mailing province, which you would typically change to mailing county for UK type businesses, but the rest of them are absolutely fine. Now the other one, typically I haven't seen this used in any build, and we're talking a lot of builds. I typically don't see the use for 2 street addresses in the contact record. I may be told otherwise, but we've not seen any build which has used the standard fields known as other. So typically on any build, these are removed from the layout. We don't use these, and as I say, I've not seen any example where they have been used. And then the final module, I'm just going to talk about accounts. So if we go to create an account, then you'll see that the standard address fields are referred to as billing, again, street, city, province, code, and country, and shipping, and again, street, city, province, code, and country. So these ones here in the account information are much more useful. So rather than the mailing and other in the contact record, billing and shipping do have purpose. So billing is going to be where the invoices are sent or the main address of the account. And shipping is particularly useful for those who are delivering. So for e-commerce clients, shipping street and shipping addresses are obviously of importance because that's where you're sending the goods to. And also in some instances, you'll know this if you've shopped online, billing street and shipping street can often be different. So this is where the bank details are registered, but this is where you want the goods to go. So billing and shipping are important usually in the account records. Okay, so that gives you an overview of the standard fields in Zoho. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a little tiny bit of customization. This isn't a customization workout, but I'll show you. So if I want to add in some custom fields to replace those provinces ones, then I'm going to go to my setup, as you've just seen, and customization and modules and fields. And we're going to play with the leads one. So in leads, in our standard layout, we currently have the street, city, province, postal code, and country. And you'll see that they're all single line fields. So all address fields are single line fields because they can contain a combination of letters and numbers. So if we want to add street 2 to that, then it's as simple as really just dragging in a single line field. and referring this as street 2. And then you'll also notice that one I prepared earlier, we've got county here, and we can either move this one out of the way or move it out of the layout completely. So remove field. So we're going to remove the province. Just to let you know, when you're modifying the layout in Zoho CRM, just because I've removed province from this layout doesn't necessarily mean that the data's disappeared. It's just that the field has been disappeared from the layout. So in here, you'll see province, and if I wanted to bring it back, then I could simply drag it back into the layout. But now in our address information, we've got street, street 2, city, county, postal code, and country. So I'm going to save that one. And then also while I'm here, I'm going to go in to our contact record. And as I say, we don't typically see use for the other address. So we can go in and remove these fields from the layout. So they're not distracting our users, and we don't end up with users entering data in the wrong address fields. So that typically might be one of the reasons why you end up with inaccurate address data, is users don't actually know where to enter things. So they may be entering street in the wrong place, or the city and the province, and so on. So it's all about clarity. And in this case, because we've removed the other address information, it's now not going to be visible to the users. So let's go and have a look at that in the front end. So in our lead record now, when we create a lead, this time we're going to have street, street 2, city, and county, which make much more sense to a UK market. And also in contacts, when we go and create the contact, we've now got no other situation. So we've just got the mailing street, mailing city, and so on. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an overview of what you have available in Zoho CRM as standard. And if you want to make some very simple changes, then it's very easy to do. Okay, so sorry, where's my agenda? Here's my agenda. So what I'm going to show you now is how to edit and correct that address data, and I'm going to use something called Zoho Sheet View. Now, this is applicable if you have, let's say, several hundred records. You know, so we're not talking thousands of records, we're talking several hundred, or less than, you know, less than 1,000, and it's very easy to edit those yourself. Where you have volumes greater than that, you would need to use a service, because it would just take too long and just be so boring to do that that it's probably best to actually run that through a service. So I'll talk about that in a second. So let's go to our accounts, where I have some fine examples of addresses, all in the county of Norfolk, and we've got basically a list here of 100 records in our 1.0 workout address data. So you can see here that we've used billing street, city, province, and billing code. And at the moment, the billing city isn't quite right. So in here, some of them are correct, and this is why I've used Norfolk, because I can recognize some of these. So we've got Norwich and Fakenham. But in some of them, you can see, for instance, we have a street 2 address in city. So Bridge Road and Reefham Road and Wattham Road here. So you can see that it's not quite right. So what we want to do is I want to try and correct this data using Zoho Sheet View. So the first thing that we need to do is to introduce a custom field into this data. So let's repeat that process that we just did. So let's go to our modules and fields. And in our accounts, we're going to add in the street 2, because that's the field that we're missing. So where we've got billing streets and shipping street, I'm going to drag this field in here. And this one's going to be called billing street 2. And also I'm going to create a shipping street 2 for consistency. Okay, so that's the 2 new fields created. And now if I go back to the view that I created in accounts, I want to add in the street 2 field. So let's edit this view. And I'm now going to search for my street, and I'm going to add in billing street 2, which will currently be blank. Okay, and let's save that. So as you can see, that's currently blank, but we want to do some corrections on this data to try and keep the city consistent and the street 2 consistent. So we could do that by going into each individual record. So let's, for instance, take this one here. If we go into this account, we can see that Dunnock Court here should be in Billing Street 2. So we would have to go in and edit this and copy this from here to there, and then put in Norwich here and save. And that would be incredibly time consuming to do that for each individual record. I mean, you can do it in terms of housekeeping as you go along, but it's time consuming in this instance. So let's use Zoho Sheet View, which we're a big fan of in terms of updating data. But if you've not seen it before, then it's something that hopefully you'll find useful. So when we use Zoho Sheet View, we have to create the custom view that we want to work with first. So this one is our 1.0 workout addresses, and it's all these addresses based on the billing province of Norfolk. Click on Actions and click on Zoho Sheet View. And then that will bring up the instructions for Zoho Sheet View, which basically talks about this has the ability to update and view records. And that's really its purpose. You can't go in and actually add new records, but you can go in and edit them. You can click on the Don't Show again once you've read the message, and let's continue onwards. And that will bring up the Zoho version of Excel, so Zoho Sheet, where we've now got the ability to view all those 100 records in one place. So let that just do its thing. It's going to load it up. So you'll recognize this as a spreadsheet, and also we can, I think you can do this and just expand the columns out. So now we've got a spreadsheet to work with for each of the individual records. And now what we can start to do is start to work with this data. So we can see the billing city for some is correct, but if it's not correct, then we can cut that and paste it into Billing Street 2, and likewise this one. And we can do it on a volume basis, you know. So let's do this, for instance, and let's find two that are together. So well, let's just take these. I know that these are towns and cities, but if we wanted to move all three, we could. And likewise, if we wanted to move these, then we can move these into the city. And also, if we wanted to correct this to Norwich and then expand it down, then we've got all of the spreadsheet capability that we want to have in order to edit data quickly. So very, very easy to do. And then to commit the data to the CRM, just click on the save icon, and that will start to commit the data. Well, you'll know it's done once the save icon goes from grey back to black. And then go to the accounts, and we'll have a look at it now. And then when I refresh, you'll see that the changes that are made in Zoho Sheet View are now reflected in the data itself. So where I moved all those three records are now in Billing Street 2. So this is a really good way of reviewing your address data. If, for instance, you've got postcodes in the wrong column, or you have cities in the wrong column, you can readjust it using that spreadsheet view. And we tend to do that, as I say, for records where we've got kind of less than 1,000 records. It's a fairly short task in terms of just reviewing that data, especially if you know the area. It's pretty easy to do. Now, if you have more than a few hundred records, then what you'll really need to do is to go in and create a report. So I've created a report here called Norfolk Accounts, and let's just edit that report. And we're going to add in the billing fields. So let's select those and add. And I'm going to save those. And now we've got a list of our addresses. And all we need to do is to export that address file to a CSV file. And when we export it, it will give us it with a list of IDs. So you can then provide that to ourselves, and we'll use our address checker to run that data through the postcode address checking file, and it will correct all of the addresses based on the post office data. So then when we provide that data back to you, you'll be able to upload it, or we'll upload it for you, and it will correct all the data in one go. So of course that's that's a much easier way of doing it, but as with anything, there's a small charge for the check-in service. But ultimately, that will correct all of the data in your database from that point, all the data that you've got in the database so far. Okay, so let's go back to the agenda. Hopefully that gives you an indication on how to use Zoho Sheet View, and also export and report if you have more than a few hundred records. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a second there, and please do ask any questions if you have any so far, and then we'll move on to ensuring that you've got accurate address data going forward. Okay, excellent. So so once you've cleaned up all of your existing address data, it's now time to keep your existing entries up to date. And to do that, we've brought in a address check-in tool, which actually allows you to enter data a lot quicker. So it makes it really useful for the user in terms of selecting addresses, and also it's accurate. So when the tool is used, it actually goes off to the post office address file, known as the path, and it checks the accurate addresses on a daily basis. So in other words, the postcode or the address that you enter is the most up-to-date address that's available in the UK database. So we've been working on this for a little while, and it's now available in Zoho CRM in the marketplace, or it will be in the marketplace. It's currently under review at this stage, but I'm just going to show you how that works and what benefit it can bring to you. So let's go to our accounts database, and we're going to create an account. And what you would typically have to do before is go into here and start typing in the address. So we're going to go 15 Palace Street, Norwich, Norfolk, NR31RT, United Kingdom. So we've entered the address, and this useful feature here will do billing to shipping. I've not configured this custom field yet, but we it's very easy to do that copy address facility. And then let's put in the account name, target cloud, and we'll save that record. So what we had there is just a little bit of time to enter the address. We know it's accurate because it's our own, of course, but in some cases it may not be accurate. You could have the situation where, as I described earlier, where Norwich is entered into Billing Street too, and so on. So our development solves both of those issues about accuracy and speed. So when we go to create account, we're now going to do the Billing Street, etc. again, but this time we're going to use the Address Lookup Tool. And then as soon as we start typing, that will start to bring out the addresses. So we're going to start by entering a postcode. So we've got NR31RT, and that's going to bring up Palace Street, which we can now select, and then we'll select 15 Palace Street, Norfolk. It will give us our summary, select the address, and it will populate the record. And then copy from billing to shipping, and that will populate the record there too. Let me just show you that again. So when we do address lookup, we can type in any information from the address. So my old hometown of Atherton and my original address. So I've just typed in here Atherton 4 pad, no postcode, and that's brought out the address that I'm looking for. So I can now select it and select the address, and it will update this data, and then copy again, and that will update the data there. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea on the simplicity of the Address Lookup Tool. It's pretty easy to install. So as I said, we've added this to the marketplace, which means you currently need a link to access it, but you could normally go to Zoho Marketplace All, and in here, if you haven't been here before, there's a whole bunch of apps that are available for you for different purposes. So if you can add functionality to your CRM. But in this case, we've installed our address lookup for Zoho CRM. And interestingly as well, what we've done with this is when we configure it, you're able to map the fields that you want to map in Zoho. So where I've talked about the standard address fields across both leads, contacts, and accounts, if you customize your fields, so in other words, you've added Billing Street 2, or you change province to county, then you've got the capability to go in and point the address fields to the ones that you think are relevant. So you'll see in this case, with contacts, I've changed it from the mailing ones to the custom ones. and we can do this by just editing and then putting in the name of the field in these extension settings. So let me show you that as an example. If I go to the contact record, and we're going to create a contact, and the standard address fields are these mailing ones, but you can see a custom address is down here at the bottom, and these are ones which I've customized. They're obviously not the standard ones. So when we do an address lookup in this situation, and put in our postcode, let's choose this one here. So there's our summary, and select the address. It's populating the custom address rather than the mailing one. And let's save that record. Oh. Okay. So custom ones rather than the standard mailing ones. So if you want to try this out, by the way, then for our 1 hour workout attendees, we're currently running a bit of a trial. So you can try this out in your own CRM for free. So just get in touch with us, and we'll enable that for you. And we'd be really pleased to get your feedback on how that service is working for you before we go ahead with a public launch. So that one's available to our regular 1 hour workout attendees. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the outcomes of having wonderfully accurate address data. And the first one I'm going to show you is using address data for a mail merge. So let's go back to our accounts, and if you've not used mail merge before, it's pretty standard and pretty straightforward. And what it allows us to do is to produce documentation or documents or PDFs from our Zoho data. So it's a pretty easy way of producing letters or references or documents, legal documents, and so on. So let's choose one of our addresses. We're going to pick on the one I changed earlier, and we want to do a mail merge. So we want to send a letter to this address, and to do that for one record, we go into the record and click on the 3 dots and select mail merge, and then it will say select a template. And I'm going to show you how we create those templates in a second. And in this case, I'm going to choose the address letter mail merge and click on merge. And then that's going to launch our template, which, as you can see, has got these custom fields in it. So these are referencing the fields that are defined in the record. And then when we run the merge for this record, it's going to pull the information from Zoho CRM, and it's going to create our document. And so we'll let it just think about that for a second. And now it's produced a PDF or a downloadable document or a printable document with the fields populated from the record. So flat 10 Dunnock Court, Norwich, and here is flat 10 Norwich, Norfolk. I've not actually put in that Billing Street 2 into the template, but we can use that as an example actually. So Billing Street 2 isn't in this template, so I'm going to show you how we can add that one in there. But before we do that, oh no, let's actually go in and do that now. So here's our template for the reference letter. So to change your mail merges, go to the setup and go to templates and mail merge. And you can see our address letter mail merge here. So I'm going to click on this. And just like you would with email templates, you can go in and edit it. And then we want to add in our new custom field into this template. So here where it says Billing Street, we're going to add in Billing Street 2 into here. And you can see when you click on Automate on the left-hand side, this is Zoho Writer interface, which CRM is automatically integrated in with. And in here, we're going to add in our Street 2. So we've now added in the field here, Billing Street 2, and click on Done. And just click on Done and Proceed there. And actually, it doesn't show initially, but if you go in and try again, then the template will have been updated with Billing Street 2. So let's have a look at that in action, but this time for multiple accounts. So these ones don't have Billing Street 2, but these ones do. Let me just sort it by this column. So here we go, we've got a bit more data. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select multiple records. So we want to send letters out to all of these. Let's just select a couple more. And we can now do an action and do a mass mail merge. And we're going to select our address letter and merge that together. So that'll launch our interface and do the hard work for us. Okay, so it's now selected everything and we click on Run Merge. And the first time you do this, you'll get a little pop-up blocker. So don't forget to enable the pop-up blocker so that the mail merge can function. And so this time we've now got those dozen or so records that we selected with the addresses in each one. So it's now populated the reference letter with each of those dates. So now we can do a file print, or we can download it as PDF, so we can do whatever we need to do with it, send it to printers and so on. But it's a really simple way of creating those paper documents. And if you've got accurate addresses, they're going to hit the mailboxes as they should do. Okay, so the second useful element I'm going to show you is the one I mentioned for our field-based operatives. So let me just, this is on the mobile app. Okay, so so hopefully you can now see my mobile app screen. So if you've not used the Zoho CRM mobile app before, I'll just show you what it looks like on the home screen. So it's the icon fourth one down on the left, Zoho CRM. So if I open up that one, then that will take you into the home screen. And your modules are reflected if you click on the bottom right hand side where it says more, then that will list up all of your modules. And the one that I'm specifically looking at, and the address type information that I want to show you today and how useful that is, I'm going to use our account information. So click on accounts, and that's going to bring up a map, which is obviously using geolocation, because you can see that I'm here on the east of Norwich right now. And you'll also notice the view that I've selected is our 1 hour workout address information. So what this is doing now is it's looking at my geolocation and it's listing out all of those addresses. So let's have a look at the data. So it's listing out these addresses based on the billing code. And this is important to note if you're going to be using the mobile app. The mobile app uses the standard Zoho CRM fields to do the geolocation. So you need to maintain billing code and mailing code for contacts in your data in order to use geolocation. So that's this information here. So you can see right now that we're zoomed in, and you can see custom location. And here at the top right hand side, I'm going to press, so that 39, that will show me the near me radius. So I can decrease or increase this accordingly. So I'm just going to say, show me the ones that are within 10 kilometers, because I'm out and about and I want to see those right now. So when we click that, it's just going to bring up the accounts within 10K, which actually looks like it's one, basically because it's all water to the right of me. Oh, there we go. It's picking up a couple more. I thought there might be some more, maybe not. Let's increase the radius again. So let's put it to 20. It does a little calculation, so you can see it's 27% completed, but it's bringing them in as we speak now. 34, that's fine. And then if we open up this record, that's going to show us which company that is, and then we can press the information bar to go to that record. So it's a really easy way when you're out and about just to do the find businesses near me. Really useful if you've got a good database and, for instance, you're visiting an industry park or where lots of businesses are based, then you may be able to get information on the CRM when you're actually looking at the building. So really good for field service and also for sales engineers and so on. Interestingly as well, when you go to this record and you have a meeting, obviously you can use this to find your way to that record, but you've also got the ability to check in as well. So when you go to when you have the meeting that's set up, when the agent goes to that meeting and checks in, then it will also reflect that in the CRM. So again, really useful way of having data available on the mobile. Okay, so let's close that off. Now, my final example of one of the outcomes, which I particularly like, is Geobased Analytics. So we've covered Zoho Analytics in a lot of detail on previous 1 hour workouts, but one of the lesser known features is the ability to have geolocation, so address-based data in Zoho Analytics. So again, what I've done this time is we've got our 100 records, again with the postcode data, the province and city. Now in Zoho Analytics, it's got the ability to use geodata, so the city or the province. I tried it with the billing code, but unfortunately it doesn't use it. So let me just show you the outcome. So here in Analytics, which is a separate Zoho tool, if you've got Zoho 1, then you've got it available, or CRM Plus, or you can have it available as a separate product. Then I've represented our 1 hour workout address data based on the map here. So if we zoom in, then you can see the ones that I was looking at earlier. We've got 2 accounts in Thorpe St Andrew and a total of 130 employees, and 1 account with 52 employees over there, and Spixworth and so on. So you can see our representation based on the map data. And if I want to do things like grab a certain area, I can go in and just grab this area and start to run the analysis for this particular area. In this instance, we've only got 1 statistic available, which is our total employees. So if I go to the account, then we've got this employees data here, which is the only data I've got as test data. But effectively, with the analytics side, you could have things like number of deals or deal value, or more important information than simply just the number of employees. But it really does give you an idea of how to geolocate and see your data based on a map. So let me show you how that's constructed. Let's go into view mode, and we can scan and use the map from this. And then if I go to edit the design, then all as we've done, if you've seen analytics before, then this will be straightforward. If not, then you may need to watch our previous video on it. But I've gone in and added the billing city in as a field here. And then in the selection tool, instead of it being an actual count value or a distinct count, I've used the geolocation. So it's treat as geolocation. And you can see here that I've used the city. So what it's doing is it's matching the city to the city based on the map. Excuse me. And as I say, if I try it with the zip code, it's unfortunately not recognizing that for UK addresses. So I don't know whether that's going to be an update in the future or whether it's just going to be specifically for US and global. But ultimately, you can get some really good data based on the city or based on the county at this stage, certainly the country. And then all we've done with the data is for the size field is put the employees in and the sum. You can have a bit of a play around with this. So if I was to do color, let's go and select our employees field. And I'm going to add that in and put that into our color field and change that to an average value. And this should give us a kind of heat map type thing. Let's have a look and see what happens. So yeah, it does this zoom out. So we can go in and grab that. So yeah, you can now see that if you had deal type data, you'd be able to see effectively where your hotspots were for business. In this case, we can see our hotspots in terms of employee numbers across those cities in Norfolk. So the geolocation tool in analytics based on address data can be really powerful depending on what data it is that you collected and what you're hoping to achieve.